compositions. Compositions is nothing more than doing multiple transformations at the same time. So for this particular one, I guess you can kind of see what I did here, but I started with this pre-image, and then it goes up here. And if you look at the orientation of the object, it looks like I just moved it. All the, nothing is flipped or rotated. And so you can see that going from here to here is just a translation. And then from here to here, I reflected over the y-axis because it's kind of a mirrored image. And then from here to here, I went and I rotated it down. The cool part is that I can move anything I want. So I can move this, and you could, I could move E over to here, and you can see that it just changes the shape. Every one of these shapes, this is still a move and still a reflection and still that. I can put E back there, and instead I can mess around with this vector. So this vector is 1 over and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up. And that's what this translation is. If you look at F, 1 over and then 6 up. And so if I actually change this, the computer still knows to do the same thing. I just telling me to do something different this time. So now this is the translation, and then the reflection is way that way then, because you're still reflecting over the axis. I didn't change that move. The 3 moves were the same. It's still a translation, a reflection, and then a rotation. But if I change the translation by changing the vector, because the vector is the translation, I actually then move all the objects. And I think this is probably something similar to what it was at the beginning. It went over 1, up 6, reflected, and then rotated. And again, I can undo a bunch of these things and kind of just go back to the original shape. So there's my original shape. And again, I could create a whole nother line if I wanted to. So there's a line. And I could do a point here, let's say. And then I can create a new vector if I wanted to. And we'll do that. So I could come down here and do a different composition. So I could, how about I reflect over the line first. So how about I take this and I reflect over this new line. Ooh, see I flipped it way up there? I have to even scroll out to even see it now. And then I could take that shape and I could rotate it about any point I wanted to. Let's rotate it this way, about the point M. And let's rotate it 90 degrees clockwise. So, whoop, it's gonna flip it. Oh, I didn't do it. I don't know why I didn't do it. Let's try that again. Rotate this polygon about point M, 90 degrees clockwise. There we go. See how this is the center, and I went, and it whipped it down there. And then I could take that object and I could translate it by that vector. And so it moved it. So it's a reflection, a rotation, and then a translation. And I can change those. I can certainly easily change the translation. Right? I can move that object wherever I want. I'm not doing anything to the reflection. I don't know if I can move the line. Oh, check that out. Now that's crazy talk, right? I'm actually moving the line of reflection. If I move K, what was the other line? L. I can move L there, and now K there. And now I'm reflecting over that line. I'm still rotating over the point M. I can move the point M, which changes what I'm rotating around. These two are still fixed because they're still fixed by that vector. So there's all sorts of things on GeoGebra you can play around with, but the heart of this lesson is just looking at different combinations of transformations, which we call compositions. It's a composition of more than one thing. It doesn't have to be 3, it doesn't have to be 1 of each, but in this particular one, I reflected over the line KL, I rotated around this point M, and I can move this point wherever I want, and then I translated by this vector. And the vector in this case, I don't know, it looks like it's like down 1.5 and over 5. The scale's all weird because I had to zoom out to look at it. So compositions are something you can play around with. They're not too bad as long as you understand all 3 of the individual pieces. Translations, reflections, and rotations. Then compositions are pretty easy. And you can tell you're going from this one to this one to this one to this one by the primes, right? This is E, E prime, E double prime, and then E triple prime. Okay? So hopefully this gets you thinking. Again, I would encourage you to get on GeoGebra. Again, you can just Google GeoGebra geometry and you get to this. You can come over here and you can make the grid, draw these lines. Again, those lines aren't there. I have to draw those lines by using A, B, and C, and D. Then I just zoom in, so you don't think, you think maybe that's an axis, but it's not. Those are just lines I made that form like the X and Y axis. You can put in other lines, you can put in other points, and then down here, again, you can play around with transformations. You can translate by a vector, rotate around a point, reflect about a line. Don't worry about reflecting about a point, and don't worry yet about dilations. Those come in later. Okay? Hopefully this video kind of gets you started on compositions, and you take some time and maybe play around with some GeoGebra stuff.